The topic that will be discussed in today's podcast is the ramifications of the modern beauty standard, specifically focusing on how its strong roots in the Western world continue to create destructive patterns and habits in women of color who idealize these features and that maybe don't possess these features themselves. So, as a little introduction, the universal beauty standard is a phenomenon that has been studied by a large amount of people, sociologists, historians, psychologists, and those alike, and it is largely acknowledged that the universal characteristics of desired features include, for one, light features. So that's going to include light eyes, light hair, pale skin. It includes a straighter up-tipped nose, and it also includes this curvy, thin body type, which is this unrealistic fusion of a thin and lengthy body that somehow also has curves. And lastly, it's going to be hair texture that's on the straighter side. So it is clear from the description that I just gave that the Western world has had a very large influence on these idealized features. We can see this through the straight or up-tipped nose bridge, the straight hair textures, and most specifically through the light features. This beauty standard has been perpetuated throughout time. It starts with the diffusion and popularization of historical Eurocentric art such as Renaissance art and colonial art that highlighted Eurocentric features. It then continues with the introduction of film and cinema, which glamorized white women. There's magazine and fashion culture, which for a period of time sought to exclude women of color and bolstered ideas of uniformity. And now in the 21st century, with the rise of social media, which creates unrealistic beauty standards. But what this podcast specifically aims to get at is how the effects of these universalized beauty standards reveal themselves in the modern community's ideas of perception and identity, and how continued romanticization of such standards is highly dangerous. To begin, the dangers of such idolization is present in a concern for global health and wellness. A common practice for women of color, and maybe those who just wish to better fit the Western-centric beauty standard, is to change their appearance. Regarding weight and body image, the Euro-American ideas of unrealistically thin body types created in big cities such as Paris, Rome, London, and New York City have many women and femme-identifying people desiring to be a smaller weight. Such unrealistic paragons have led to a global epidemic of eating disorders that create extremely unhealthy eating habits in the community. Bulimia, anorexia, and malnutrition ran rampant during the 90s, but can still be seen negatively impacting global health. On my mother's side of the family, when I attend familial gatherings, I can actually see these ramifications in real life. Like most feminine communities, most of the women in the family have an unhealthy relationship with weight and food. There's always a conversation of not only their own body image, but of other relatives' body images, both positive and even negative. And as a child, this made me become more aware of my own body from an early age, being that I was constantly surrounded by a stigma about it. To continue with the concern for universal wellness, the idealization of one form has caused a multitude of women to seek out cosmetic and artificial reproduction of such features. A number of products and procedures are very popular in the modern world, which aim to eliminate ethnic features. Some include skin whitening, hair relaxers, hair straighteners, hair lighteners, eye lightening surgery, double eyelid surgery, rhinoplasty, so on. The list is arguably infinite in terms of the surgery that you can get to restructure your face. Continuing with my personal experience with such a phenomenon, on my mother's side of the family, which is fully Filipino, it wasn't uncommon to see women having issues with their own features. When we would smile for pictures, there was always a complaint about how someone's eyes were too Asian looking. Numerous women on that side of the family had some form of cosmetic surgery. We even had one aunt who hid her dark features with crystal blue contacts and bleached blonde hair. And it never strayed from my notice that she was attempting to look different. For me personally, this encouraged me at a young age to question personal appearances and why she would even want to reverse the things that she was born with. Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health did a study using people in the Bronx, and it had found that 45% of female respondents and 34% of femme-identifying respondents reported ever using chemical straighteners, and 25% of female respondents and 22% of femme-identifying respondents reported ever using skin lightener. From a medicinal perspective, these products and surgeries are highly threatening. To start, skin lighteners have very toxic materials that the body can absorb and lead to organ damage. And of course, with operations that alter your facial structure, there's always a risk of something going wrong procedurally, leading to a medically concerning mishap. Lastly, those who utilize such products and procedures may internalize a misshapen sense of their own identity and foster imposter syndrome. This may arise from their idolization of other features and the complete transformation of the features which had previously made them unique or identifiable. From a psychological standpoint, there has been numerous interpretations and studies on how beauty standards have shaped the modern world's ideas of community, culture, identity, and perception. On one hand, there's a group of people of color who have developed an obstructive self-perception and hate for their own identity. In some cases, this self-hatred is outwardized, demonstrated when characteristically non-conforming people show distaste of other non-Western features as a way to gain acceptance in society by subscribing to the perpetuation of the norm. In a somewhat opposite standpoint, there's a concept called the rejection identification model. And what this theory claims is that marginalized people tend to form a stronger connection to their minority group as a way to defend themselves psychologically from the shame and embarrassment of discrimination. Aside from these two experiences, there are other ways in which the ramifications of the beauty standard can be seen through a psychological lens. It is a confusing concept that beauty is subjective, yet we as a society have created a universally held idea of what is and isn't beautiful, an idea that is highly exclusive and doesn't include more than half of the world. Resultingly, more than half the world has centuries of preconceived notions and judgment of the features that they were born with and which define them as an individualistic human being. Naturally, this can create an incredibly warped perception of worth, especially from an introspective standpoint. Ultimately, these Eurocentric beauty standards are harmful because they make countless women question, doubt, or even change parts of themselves to fit a certain ideal. Aside from just creating a concerning idea of self-perception, this beauty standard continues to reinforce a power dynamic that places the Western world at the top. This continued pressure will only lead to a further push towards a world that emphasizes uniformity and strips away inclusivity. It is imperative that we dismantle this cycle by breaking down the glorification of Western features exclusively, while simultaneously promoting diversity and inclusion for all.